Hello, everybody. We are going to be going over chapter 8, which goes over the psychospiritual model. The psychospiritual model integrates psychological theories, therapeutic approaches, and spiritual perspectives to address the complexities of human experience and consciousness. It takes a holistic approach and recognizes the interconnectedness of mind, body, emotions, relationships, society, and spirituality in shaping individual identity, meaning making, and well being. The model emphasizes holistic healing, transformation, self discovery, self actualization, and transcendence through the integration of psychological insights and spiritual practices. So, the integration of psychology and spirituality, I think that's the purpose of this emerging theory. So let's start off with just defining what each of those individuals are. So psychology is the scientific study of the mind and behavior. It encompasses a wide range of topics related to human cognition, emotions, perception, motivation, development, personality, relationships, and mental processes. Psychologists employ various research methods and theoretical frameworks to understand how individuals think, feel, and behave in different contexts. The field of psychology also explores mental health, psychological disorders, therapy, and interventions aimed at promoting well being and improving quality of life, which you have learned a lot about, a lot of these aspects. Spirituality, which is what we are hoping to teach more about in this course, refers to the personal quest for understanding meaning, purpose, and transcendence. It involves exploring the deeper aspects of existence, such as the nature of reality, consciousness, connection to others, and the universe. Spirituality often involves beliefs, values, practices, and experiences that go beyond the material or physical realm. So the term psychospiritual will refer to the integration or interaction between psychological and spiritual dimensions of human experience. So it combines insights and practices from psychology and spirituality to address holistic well being, personal growth, and existential questions. So, like I said earlier, the holistic perspective. So, within the holistic perspective, you have the biopsychosocial spiritual model, you have the eco psychology, and then you also have the transpersonal ecology. So the biopsychosocial model integrates biological, psychological, social, and spiritual factors to understand health, illness, and well being comprehensively. The eco psychology explores the relationship between human beings and the natural environment, emphasizing the impact of nature on psychological and spiritual well being. And then the transpersonal extends eco psychology to include spiritual dimensions such as the interconnectedness of all life forms and the sacredness of nature. So, both psychology and spirituality embrace a holistic view of human beings, recognizing the interconnectedness of mind, body, emotions, and spirit. This shared perspective forms the basis for integration, emphasizing the need to address all dimensions of human experience for optimal well being. Some key concepts of psychospiritual is synchronicity, transpersonal development, integral theory, and archetypal psychology. It's also important to think too about the promotion of self inquiry and self reflection within this. Um, and then also just the transpersonal development in general, which I know like I had already kind of stated that, but I think that's kind of one of the bigger pieces, right, is the process of growth, and kind of going through like those different developmental stages that we had talked about previously. So the synchronicity is the meaningful coincidence of events that cannot be explained by conventional um, causality, I'm so sorry, often seen as a reflection of deeper spiritual or psychological patterns. We already talked about transpersonal development, integral theory. I had placed a video last week that kind of went into that and talked about that last week. But then also like understanding that the psychospiritual emerging theory explores universal symbols, myths, and archetypes that shape human experience and the collective unconscious, which was proposed by Carl Jung. Some different therapeutic approaches could be holotropic breath work, which is a form of experiential therapy that uses deep breathing and music to induce altered states of consciousness, facilitating emotional release and spiritual insights. It could be narrative therapy, which focuses on stories we tell about ourselves, helping individuals reframe their narratives, identify strengths, and create new meanings and possibilities. It could be transpersonal art therapy, which utilizes creative expression to access deeper layers of the psyche, promote self discovery, and integral spiritual experiences. And then existential psychotherapy, which addresses existential concerns such as freedom, responsibility, meaninglessness, and death anxiety, encouraging individuals to confront and find meaning in life's challenges. Other things just to kind of consider could also be like just the mindfulness based therapies. Um, Approaches like mindfulness based stress reduction and mindfulness based cognitive therapy also integrate mindfulness practices with cognitive behavioral techniques. And these interventions can be effective for managing stress, anxiety, depression, chronic pain, and other psychological issues where you can integrate that spiritual awareness and growth. All right, goals and outcomes. So, goals and outcomes of psychospiritual um, theory is spiritual awakening, emotional healing, personal growth, and integration of spiritual experiences. So, trying to really make sure that we're focusing on facilitating experiences of transcendence, unity, interconnectedness, and expanded consciousness. So, really working on them figuring out like what their spiritual beliefs are and having that spiritual awakening, right? Really expanding on that. The emotional healing is processing unresolved trauma, grief, guilt, and other emotional wounds to promote psychological integration of well being. Personal growth is cultivating virtues such as compassion, gratitude, forgiveness, resilience, and wisdom through self reflection and spiritual practices. And then integration of spiritual experiences is helping individuals integrate and make meaning of mystical, peak, or transformative experiences within their daily lives and belief systems. So, what does that look like every day, right? Someone says that they're spiritual. Well, okay, what does that look like in your day to day practice? Excuse me. All right, so with any theory, there's always going to be some challenges and critiques with that. So, some of the challenges and critiques are the scientific validity, cultural sensitivity, and ethical considerations. Um, so, while there is growing evidence supporting the benefits of mindfulness based interventions in some aspects of spirituality and mental health, challenges do remain in validating spiritual and transpersonal experiences. Um, so there is a lot of, scientific validity that does pose as a challenge and critique. Cultural sensitivity, so understanding the integration of spirituality and psychology must be culturally sensitive, and respecting diverse spiritual beliefs, practices, and cultural contexts. Therapists need to be aware of their own biases and limitations when working with clients from different backgrounds. So, one of the things that I like to really point out here is one, we have to learn how to be open to people who may believe ways that are different than us, um, and check our own biases in those moments, but also support the client in what they believe. But I think the most difficult thing is not so much whenever people believe in things that we may not believe in, but when they believe in the same idea as us, but the way they go about it is different than us. And so I think that we have to be very cautious to where, if I am a Christian that believes that X, Y, and Z is a sin, but then my client is also a Christian who does not believe in that same thing, I have to be mindful of how I may come across of that, and be culturally sensitive to that. Ethical considerations just really means that therapists integrating psychology and spirituality must maintain ethical boundaries and avoid imposing their own beliefs on clients, and ensure that interventions are grounded in evidence-based practices and respect client autonomy. So remember, the client is going to tell you what they believe in, how they believe in it, and what that looks like day to day. All right, so moving forward, what does it look like moving forward for the psychospiritual model, which, like I said, is emerging? So there needs to be ongoing research. Continued research is needed to explore the mechanisms of change in psychospiritual interventions and identify the best practices for integration, and evaluate outcomes across diverse populations and settings. Of course, integrating psychology and spirituality does require specialized training. So training and education is going to be important for professionals who want to integrate this, and having those ongoing professional developments. And then lastly, there is going to have to be that support, right? Like, so building supportive communities and networks of practitioners, researchers, educators, and individuals that are interested in the psychospiritual integration can really be beneficial for this, right? So you have to have that buy-in, right? Do people actually see that this is benefiting them in one way or another? And do they feel like this is something that they want to put time and effort and energy into using? So I hope that this has been helpful and able to kind of give you some more information for chapter 8. If you have any questions, just let me know. I hope you all have a great week.